we're making fourth cutting hay, and we're kind of in a little bit of a predicament. Our predicament, I just tested the hay, stuff it in a bucket really tight and stick a moisture tester in it just to get a general idea of what it's testing. And I got 20 to 25% moisture, which is too wet to bale. I don't want to bale it there. I mean, I probably could, but I don't want to do it. So our problem is there's a 50% chance of rain tomorrow in the afternoon, about this time tomorrow, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, I could wake up in the morning and ted it a third time, which I don't really want to, but I could wake up in the morning and ted it and try to get it real bone dry and try to get it raked up and baled before the rain hits. That's a possibility. Or maybe possibly it'll dry down today, then we bale it today. The problem is I don't want to push this hay, and I don't want to push it. First 3 cuttings were all really good. The grass hay, there were a couple spots that were 20%. Now we used Silo King, and it actually prevented that stuff from sweating too much, and it's actually going down in moisture because I keep testing them every now and again. But anyway, I'm kind of not really sure what I want to do. Do I take my chances and wait till tomorrow and try to get it dry tomorrow? Will it even rain? I don't know. Do I try to force it to really try to get it to dry down today? Can I get it dry today? Do I put a bunch of treatment on it? I don't know. The 966 isn't here because it's getting fixed, worked on. There's a bunch of issues with it, so we were getting that thing all tidied up. So we're gonna have to use this to bale, which I actually enjoy using that tractor to bale better. It's smaller, which is okay, but it's still a heavier tractor. And the reason I like to use this tractor better is because this tractor is a synchro transmission. I can shift through gears a lot quicker on this than I can, say, the 966 or that tractor, because those are unsynchronized transmissions and it's very difficult to float gears on those really old tractors, especially that one. The 966 isn't too terrible, so I don't mind using this to bale. So we're gonna use it to bale. I got the case on the rake, that's ready to go. It's 1:30 now. When I tested the hay, a lot of it was bone dry. The alfalfa up top, very crispy. So I mean, I don't want to ted it because I'm gonna bust a lot of leaves off. Even raking it's gonna bust some leaves off. There's moisture underneath. I could rake it now and let it sit for a couple hours, let the wind blow through it. So I might do that, but I'm just gonna keep an eye on it. I don't really know what to do here. So we're just gonna watch the weather. So I had quite the day yesterday, or quite the evening, I should say, and I haven't really been able to film much. I'm trying to film what I can. Basically, see this wagon behind me? It's not full. That's all I got baled last night. So I was running along, and I'll show you down here in a minute, but I was running along baling. I got the small field done, which that's most of this stuff. And then after the small field, I moved over to the big field, and I went halfway around my first outside round, and I saw smoke coming from the thrower, the belts. So I got out, took a look, and I thought that it was just the belt had kind of loosened up because it had slid to the one side on the roller. So I thought that the belt had just loosened itself. So I tightened her back up, fired her back up, still smoking. I'm like, what is going on here? Well, after some examination, I found that on the bottom roller, the very bottom, the hardest place to get to, that roller, the one bearing it was missing a bolt. There's 2 bolts that hold that bearing onto the thrower, and then the roller spins in the bearing, right? But it was missing a bolt on the bearing, so the bearing was sitting kind of weird, and so the roller was spinning cockeyed on the bearing, and it kind of ruined the bearing, and then it was wearing a hole in it. I kind of have to show you for it to make sense. Basically, that whole bottom roller was not spinning right, like it was all crooked, and so the belt was it would run to the one side. And anyway, we band-aided it by throwing a random bolt in there just to hold the bearing, and hopefully it'll last the rest of the day today, and we can get the rest of it baled. On the bright side, the stuff that we did get baled is beautiful stuff. I mean, just beautiful stuff. Looks a lot like second cutting. Just, I mean, really, really green stuff. I mean, that's what we got baled. The stuff laying down there, still really, really good stuff. It's all windrowed up. So I'm waiting for the dew to burn off. It's about 10:30 in the morning right now. I'm waiting for that dew to burn off. It's August, late August, getting super, super heavy dews. It's still pretty wet out there, so I'm waiting for that dew to burn off, and then I'm gonna hook up the rake, flip the windrows, trying to fluff them up a little bit. I don't want to ted it out, and I really don't want to have to rake it up, but I got to do something to get them to finish drying out and get some air blowing through them. So. So I just finished flipping the rows with the rake. Whole purpose of that is just the moisture underneath, get it flipped over, fluff up the windrow, and let the wind blow through it here for an hour or so. I could bale it without flipping it, but you know, overnight the windrow settles, dew sets on it. We just adds moisture, and we don't want that. Also, it's kind of a lose-lose in a way, because when you flip them and it's pretty dry, you get a lot of leaf loss, which I'll show you here. So, I don't know if you can tell, but here's where the row was, flipped it over. Here's what we're dealing with. You know, it's a good 50-50 mix. Still a lot of leaves there, but we come over here and we get down. If you just take a look, there's a lot of leaf loss and shattering. That's just what happens with alfalfa. It's a very delicate material, and it's really hard to make absolutely perfect alfalfa. To get it right moisture without losing leaves, it's difficult. But at this point, I gotta get the hay off. I gotta get the hay off the field, pretty much. And there's enough alfalfa with leaves in here and enough grass in it that it's still gonna make some real good hay. It's not gonna be terrible hay. And it's still really green. So it's still gonna make some real good stuff. But at this point, it's just get it off the field dry. If you lose some leaves, you lose some leaves. That's what happens. It's part of making hay. So I got the Atco all hooked up, ready to go. Like, as soon as this stuff is fit, I'm going. I mean, we got looming rain. It's very humid. Storms are supposed to form later here in the day, a couple hours from now. So I'm hoping that this only takes me an hour and a half to bale, assuming everything goes right. Now, I mentioned I was gonna show you what's up with this baler here, and I'll show you. On this thrower, here's the roller and your belt, and there's these brackets right here that hold the bearing, you know, hold the bearing inside, and you bolt the bracket to the thrower. Well, there's two bolts, one here, and then there's one down there. Actually, you can see it from out here. You got one here and one here. Well, down at the bottom on that inside roller, one of these bolts, no, where'd it go? Yeah, this one. One of these bolts was missing, and so the whole, you know, bearing bracket thing was sitting kind of crooked. So the roller was kind of slanted, and the belt wasn't square, so it was sliding off. And so the belt was kind of burning a little bit. And then I don't know if you can see it down here. This is the one that it was, but I don't know if you can really tell on camera, but the that shaft there, yeah, you kind of see it there. That shaft was spinning all wonky, and it actually bore out that hole big time. So you got this belt spinning, which spins that bottom roller, and basically it was spinning it. It was metal on metal contact there. And it's sort of ruined the bearing a little bit down there. Not terrible. It's not completely shot yet, but I'm hoping that it at least will hold till I get this done baling, and then we'll fix it right. Basically, I just stuck a different bolt in there, not even the right bolt. Just stuck a bolt in there to get everything lined up and running right. Tensioned the belt up, and ran it last night for a few bales. It was working, but we'll see. This will be the test to see if it'll actually hold. So I'm really hoping it holds, because we got rain coming. If I can get this done, it'll be a good day. All wagon back in there. Everything put away. Old K730 got a workout this week. 966 is currently at the shop. She don't look the prettiest, but she sure runs the best out of all of them. Gadco, kind of call this thing the old reliable. Did have one issue with it. The alternator went out on it a couple months ago, but we got that fixed. We also did a bunch of work to this thing back in the winter. A couple odds and ends that needed fixed. It's got, both these tractors did have their trans oil change too, so kind of a just big service ordeal, all greased up. They got a full look over and then got some of their quirks fixed. They both still got plenty of quirks, believe me, but I ain't made out of money, so can't get them all fixed, but they're both in good running, working condition, and they got the job done. Just these two tractors, between all the stuff that we had to get done, they did it all. Mow, Ted, rake, bale, pull wagons, you name it. They did it all, so happy with it, happy with how they're running. But yeah, I miss the 966 because she's a fun one to drive. Anyway, that's all she wrote. That's all we're doing today. We'll unload this wagon at some point. My brother was on the back stacking it as I was baling. Basically, because I don't know if I was going to unload it today yet. So when we stack it on the wagon, they don't deform themselves, because when you just throw with a kicker wagon and a thrower and you're throwing the bales in, if you unload them right away, it's not a huge deal. But when they sit on the wagon for even a day, they'll kind of deform themselves. So got them stacked tight. They're good. This stuff's definitely drier than first stuff we baled. So anyway, I'm rambling. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.